You can check out our state expansion. We are rapidly rolling out into new states. Our green states are the ones we're live in. The blue ones are the ones that we're rolling out to. We should be in every single one of these blue states by the end of the third quarter. Our head of underwriting might pinch me for saying that, but we're going to go with it. And just one other thing on our website I wanted to show you is that under 4 agents, if you're not already appointed, you can click this get appointed link right here. And it will be sent directly to me, and I will help you guys get appointed as quickly as possible and get you on the platform. If you want to hop on the platform before you're appointed to just get familiar with it, and kind of do that before you decide to get appointed, that's no big deal. Let me know and I can accommodate you with that as well. So that being said, here's the platform. I know you guys have been in a million online raters, so I'm not going to bore you with data entry or walking you through every single thing. It's pretty intuitive and it's very similar to a lot of the ones you typically would find. So you got your policy log, the ability to search multiple characters, and then you can also filter here. Same thing with quotes. The one thing that I do want to point out with quotes is that if you, let's say you're quoting a new venture and you quoted it effective today, and then they inevitably kick that can down the road by a month or two, you don't have authority to backdate your bind orders. So it will throw it from a bindable state into a referral state. When that happens, you generally just need to go in and update the effective date. Also, just because it's in referral state does not mean an underwriter's looking at it. This is us saying, hey, you need to refer it to the underwriter for them to approve it. So anytime you see something that's in referral, you're going to want to send it over to referred. We're turning quotes around like within minutes when they're referred. So don't be shy. We're very efficient and we are prepared to get these things turned around as quickly as possible because I know that's what your prospect and your policyholders need. So every once in a while, you're probably going to want to come over here and hit this referral button and just see if something's sitting there in that state so that you can get it out of there and get the show on the road. I'm going to go with something that's already bindable so that you don't have to watch me do data entry. That's very painful. But I do want to point out that here underneath new quote, when you go to start a new quote, this is basically your deck page. We just want to get the named insured information, their location and mailing address, and that contact info. Once you hit continue from here, it creates a draft and you can never return. So this basic information tab disappears. So it's just really important that you get the named insured and contact information correct, if possible, the first time. It's not the end of the world if you don't. We can help you and go in and change that manually. This is a temporary tech limitation. It's something that we're actively working on wrapping up, but I just don't want to blindside you with that because it is a little quirky. One other thing that I think is very, very important, and frankly, I personally am quite proud of, is that this chat button, you can see it here in the right corner, but also here in the left corner. This is manned by staff from 8 to 5, regardless of what time zone you're in, and everybody sitting behind that has some type of underwriting authority and is able to immediately help you. So please don't be shy. This is not a marketing deal. It's not a sales deal. It's a true support thing, and they are live underwriters. You could get me. You could get our head of underwriting was doing it yesterday, helping agents out. So you might even get our CEO. So just make sure that you're not shy about using this and that you understand that it is not a bot or a template. We don't want to cause any frustration. If you've got a question, we're just going to jump in and help you right away. So back to bindable quotes. Once you come in here, if you hit this button right here, you'll go straight to the quote. It sends you to the summary because we want to remind you to bind it. So we're going to take you right to the summary page first. But You can always edit the application using any of these links, or just using that side toolbar. As you see, that basic info tab disappeared on you. It's kind of quirky like that. This page right here, the underwriting information, is essentially all things as far as eligibility is concerned. We don't want you wasting your time quoting something that we're going to decline. And so because of that, once you go through this page, if there's anything in there that would generate a decline, we take you straight to the decline. We're not going to make you fill out the rest of the application. But if it is something that we will consider, let's say it's in the gray area, we don't believe in black and white. Everything's negotiable here. So if it's in the gray area, we'll let you complete the quote. We'll even give you pricing, and then you refer that to the underwriter, and we'll try to get that turned around quickly. This is your classification section. We will write everything from wine bars and above. You can see right here in parentheses, we give you a couple characteristics that will help you classify them. If you're not really sure what class to use, click this chat now button, and one of our underwriters will be happy to tell you right away, and then you'll have their attention and they'll be on the lookout for it if it happens to be a referral. Good way to expedite that process. So I do also want to point out that just because it says Brandi's Bar and Grill does not mean that we're classifying it as a bar or tavern. If something has up to 65% alcohol sales and closes at midnight, which is kind of our boundaries, then it's a casual restaurant more likely than it is a bar. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're classifying. If you hit bar and tavern, it's going to go straight to a decline. So I wanted to point that out because we've seen that happen a few times. It could be a little bit confusing. We are not a market for mobile food trucks, trailers, or vendors. If it is an incidental operation that is part of like a brick and mortar restaurant, that's maybe a little bit different. We can definitely talk to you about that. But if it's a true mobile food truck or trailer, that's not going to be something that we're able to write. The guidelines state that you can have up to 5 locations on a single policy. Right now, you can only rate one location on a policy, but we do have a manual workaround, and we're actively working to get that capability put in place. So if you've got a multiple location risk or opportunity, send that my way. We'll pre-clear it for you, and we'll see what we can do to go ahead and just get that taken care of as quickly as possible as well. On that note, I want to be a little clear on this. If it is the single same entity with multiple locations up to 5, that's eligible. If you've got 15 locations, all with separate entities, those are also eligible. It's based on locations per operating entity. Most of our questions you're going to find are master sub questions. We do not ever want to see accord applications, just like you probably never want to fill out another accord application. And typically speaking, we don't have any binding subjectivities, and we're not requesting docs after the fact. The only time you might run into something like, hey, give me loss runs, is if you've answered this saying that there's 2 or more claims that is up to 50,000 or more. Generally speaking, we just need to understand the story. We need to know what happened. We might ask for loss runs. We might ask for a synopsis. I know sometimes it's hard to get loss runs if it's an account you don't control. So we're very reasonable in that. You have authority for one claim that is 50,000 or less. If you do anything in excess of that, it will generate a referral, but that doesn't mean it's going to generate a decline. This is your Accord 125. Are they in bankruptcy? Are they, a convict? Are they running from the law? Generally speaking, this is none of the above. As far as cancellations and non-renewals are concerned, we're just looking for people who got canceled or non-renewed for cause, not because somebody's pulled out of the marketplace or, they forgot to make their payment on time. That's not our concern. It's just, have they been canceled or non-renewed for some reasonable cause? This is a great example of our master sub questions. If you say no, you can see those questions disappear. We're okay with stairs. We're just saying, hey, here's the underwriting guidelines around those stairs. Can you please confirm that they do adhere or comply with those guidelines? This is stairs both inside and out. I'm sitting in Texas, so when I talk to Bill, our head of underwriting, I'm like, this is just inside, right? Not just 2 or 3 stairs outside. And he reminded me that there's actually snow and ice in other states than Texas. So it does also encompass outside stairs. We want to make sure that those are being maintained safely as well. We've got 2 other eligibility boxes. This is the big one. All of these characteristics are generally something around a bar, an entertainment venue, or a sports venue even. Um, Most of these, like, if you know we don't write bars, entertainment venues, or sports venues, this is gonna be not a problem for you. I do wanna point out a couple of them, though. Animals in cooking or dining areas. This is mostly animals in cooking areas. If dogs are allowed on the patio and the patio is technically a dining area, that is not what we're concerned about at all. And if they allow service dogs in the restaurant, which I'm pretty sure they're all required to do by ADA, that is also not a concern. So I just want to make sure that we're both clear on that. Um, Also, there's one here about the drink specials. This is just another little quirky thing that I want to explain. That is our actual underwriting guideline. If you select that, it may generate a decline or a referral, but that does not mean we're going to decline it, because if you serve me a PBR at happy hour for $4 or more, we're gonna I'm probably not gonna have happy hour at that location anymore. So we recognize that some beer specials are gonna be lower than $4. In that case, it's an easy approval for us. Playgrounds is a master sub question. Again, we're gonna give you those underwriting guidelines, and they're basically make sure that there's no playground like the ones we played on with 5-story metal rocket ships that I could get third-degree burns on or launched into the air if I use the slide. These exposures are all around mobile food trucks, trailers, and vendors. This is the other eligibility box I was talking about. In this box, there is only one class or exposure that we will consider, and that's ghost kitchens. It will generate a referral. And the reason why it generates a referral is because we want to make sure that there is really good risk transfer between the insured and the person operating in their commercial kitchen. We haven't seen a whole lot of those. They are really popping up everywhere. And the few that we've seen, we've actually been able to approve quite quickly. So don't be shy targeting ghost kitchens or selecting that when you're going through a quote. This question right here is something that I call a tripwire, but it is also something that allows you to both negotiate the risk if it's a referral and can generate credit. If the insured, the NFPA says if the insured has 300 or less people, 300 and less max capacity, there's no fire alarm required. That is our minimum guideline. We follow NFPA because that's what local ordinances follow. But if they go above and beyond, like if they have a central station alarm, most of these locations that have a CSBA, fire is included in that. So if they have that central station alarm, we're going to go ahead and automatically apply credit to the risk for you. If they are inspected, then and they don't have a central station alarm, that credit will be removed. So just make sure that you're very sure they do have that central station alarm before you click that button. Same thing with the burglar alarm. Actually, this is not an NFPA guideline at all, but if they do have a local or central station alarm, there are different levels of credit we'll provide to the insured for having that risk or loss control in place. Same thing here with the security cameras. A lot of people have those like cameras up there. Even some of them have Ring cameras now. If they are using a camera on the location, this is something that if selecting yes will generate a credit. We will write no more than 6 deep fat fryers. So we'll write up to 6, but we won't write 7 or more. A good example of somebody with 6 deep fat fryers would be like an In-N-Out burger or maybe one of those fast food chicken joints. There are not a lot of folks who have more than 6, but if you run into it, let us know. And that's something that we might be able to negotiate as long as there's good loss control in place. There is no master sub on the parking lot question. The reason why we're asking this question is because when you get into these operations that have higher alcohol sales, especially if they're generating a referral, knowing whether or not they're responsible for that parking lot really helps us negotiate terms for you. This is another tripwire. This is us asking what type of cooking the insured has on site. We will write all of these cooking. None of this is going to generate a decline unless the type of cooking does not directly correlate with the NFPA's guidelines around cleaning, inspecting your hood and vents. They say that wok cooking and charbroiling, I believe even solid fuel, all require quarterly cleaning. So make sure that you understand if they have a different type of cooking, what's the procedures are around cleaning those hoods and their vents. This question will always generate a referral. What we're trying to do is we understand that the sooner you get on a risk, they tend to have a longer lifetime value for you. And a lot of these insureds don't understand builders' risks, and it's just another expense, another policy, another hoop to jump through before they can open their business. To help you guys minimize any frustration around that, if it's a minor renovation, let's say they're going to slap some paint on the walls and throw some furniture in there before they can launch the operation, that's something that we'll consider going ahead and getting on and then endorsing the policy as they move through that process and go live. It will generate a referral. We just want to know what's the scope and the timeline of the work. We will not write cash only establishments. It's a hard decline. It's just a hard decline. I fought I fought and I didn't win on that one, and it's all for the right reasons. So cash only operations are not eligible. We'll write up to 250 employees. We'll do up to 18 hours a day, and we will write new ventures so long as they have 3 years experience. I would caution you that if you don't know when they open their operation, don't just use this year. Be sure to ask them, because the longer these guys have been in operation, the lower those rates are. If they've been in business for 10 or more years, they're going to have a lower rate than somebody who's a new venture. So just be cognizant of the fact that there's some big benefits behind how long they've been in business. And we're going to ask you the max capacity. I understand that not everybody knows that. The insured would absolutely know that. It'd be nice if you could ask them. If you don't have the information, I do have a little guideline or reference guide you can use that'll help you estimate it based on type of restaurant and square footage. So I have gotten past the underwriting information. Let me actually go back and show you what happens when you do something that is ineligible. Apparently, it lets you continue. It's not supposed to do that. Brew pubs. Oh, I forgot to answer a question. I do apologize. See, you get your immediate decline, and it's not giving you an option to refer the application. If you feel like this decline is something that we should actually consider, please use this chat button. Tell the underwriters, hey, I just got a decline on this, but I'd really like you to look at it and maybe make an exception for us. And they'll go in, they'll take a peek at it, they'll do the research, and they'll see if it's something that they can do to help you out with. Now the nuts and bolts of things. We'll do up to $10 million in gross annual sales. You have authority for up to 1.2. We can go up to 2.4. The exceptions being made on that, it is a referral. Generally, it's getting approved if they're required to have higher limits or if they have in the past routinely carried higher limits. This is something that we're temporarily using until we get our umbrella launched. Once we have that umbrella launched, we'll give you the option to go ahead and apply umbrella limits that will go over the policy. It's my understanding that it's going to mirror, so the liquor liability will be included. If you add APLI, things like that, I believe, actually, I'm not gonna say that, I'll double check, but liquor liability is included, general liability, hired non-owned, all your core coverages will be included in the umbrella when that comes out. If they do catering, we're okay with that. We actually don't even care if it's 100% catering. We will write a catering operation. The only difference is if they're doing heavy catering, it's the predominant portion of their business, they're not gonna be eligible for hired non-owned. Shouldn't be an issue. Most of those guys have a scheduled auto, but I did just want to point that out. If they serve alcohol, we give them the option to determine if they want liquor liability or not. If they do not want liquor liability, we're not going to force them to carry it, but we're going to put a hard liquor liability exclusion on the policy. If they want liquor liability, we're going to ask you what the percentage of alcohol sales are, and we're going to give you up to 1 mil in coverages. These are standalone liquor liability limits. They do not erode your general liability. You have authority for up to 25% alcohol on all classes, but fine dining. Fine dining is 35%. Just because you have authority up to 25% does not mean that's the highest we're going to go. We'll do up to 65% alcohol sales. We got hired non-owned, just like everybody else. It's an absolutely necessary coverage. And we'll do up to 1 mil, which is pretty standard, I believe. The only difference is we will not do intentional advertised self-delivery, or again, that catering. Also, we're okay with anything that is third-party delivery. We are not okay with robotic delivery. That will generate a decline. I am old. I'm a million years old, in fact, and I didn't actually know that there was robotic delivery. And when I Googled it, there's some pretty interesting, if not hilarious, stories behind it that will give you a lot of good insight into why we're not writing robotic delivery. So if you've got some downtime, I would encourage you to go ahead and Google that and see what I'm talking about. Our property section it's your Accord 125, pretty much. We try to minimize it based on the year the building was constructed. We're actively searching for a third-party vendor that will help us correctly determine the building construction class. This is one of the most commonly this is one of the most common questions that is answered incorrectly. Generally speaking, we see restaurants are more often than not frame, and then you tend to see joisted masonry and non-combustible. Here in Texas, or masonry non-combustible. Here in Texas, we do see some non-combustible buildings. They kind of look like barns, but we're not seeing that a lot outside of Texas. If you are not sure, again, ask our underwriters, because what you don't want to do is quote something as modified fire resistive, get a super cheap rate, bind it, and then turn out that it's frame and there's an increase in premium if it's inspected or that construction is corrected. So if you don't know, used frame, it's the highest rate. So it's always nice to give money back, but it's really hard to take money away. So if you don't know, you can use frame, but I would encourage you to hit up our underwriters. If your building is a million years old, like I am, it's going to ask you all of those 125 update questions. If your building is under 25 years, it's going to remove all the questions. Sorry. It's going to remove all the questions but your roof. Based on the type of materials of the roof, we want to understand what type of roof it is. Based on these materials, we may be asking for it to be updated in the last 20 years. A metal roof would indicate that it's got a lifespan of over 20 years. So we might be looking for something that's updated within the last 25 years. And to not get a decline, I'm going to change that. Why is my to button not working? There is credit for risks to have fire sprinklers. Again, if you're not sure, I would select no or ask the insured. If they are sprinklered and they have that credit, awesome. If you rate it as sprinklered, it gets inspected and it's not sprinklered, that credit's going to be removed. So be very careful of using these things that are going to generate credit if you're unsure. So we're going to ask you again, this is your basic 125. What's the square footage? What is your business personal property limit? The one caveat to that is we're going to ask you if they want building coverage or not. If yes, you're going to throw your building limit in there. If no, we're going to give you the option to separate the improvements from the personal property. If you are in any state but Texas, there is a rate benefit to breaking these two out. If you're in Texas, for some reason, there is not rate relief. So in Texas, I would come in here and I would combine it underneath business personal property and put 0 underneath improvements. If you do this, the deck page and quote will say improvements is included in the personal property. We do not care about the AOP deductible. They can have it as low or as high as they want. We love those high AOP deductibles. We do care about the wind hail. Largely, again, in Texas, the problem child with wind hail over here, if it pre-selects 2%, that's the lowest you can go. If it pre-selects 1%, then you can go higher, but you can't go lower. If you try to do something lower, you're gonna hurt its feelings and it's gonna say, no, you can't have that. So be sure that you understand that. We're cool with higher deductibles. We're even cooler with removing the coverage, but we can't reduce that deductible. We're okay with any of these building types. We're asking you because we kind of need to understand. The only one here that might generate a referral or a master sub question is if it's attached to a HAB structure. I actually used to live in an apartment that was above a restaurant, so I understand why this question's here. They just want to make sure that somebody who is the general manager or owner of the restaurant lives in the HAB structure or in that residential portion of the building, or that there is an adequate firewall between the two, which is obviously almost always the case because I believe that's construction code. This is one of my favorite, whoops, what did I do? I made up a year that doesn't exist yet. So this is one of my favorite pages, and I want to show you why. I, as an agent, have ran into situations where an insured either thinks that if you've got one coverage in the enhancement that's lower than the other quote they have, that the other quote's better. So if you've got 10,000 in outdoor signs and the other agent has 15,000, well, then obviously that's a better quote, which we all know is not the case. And then you also have the ones who are very frugal and they're like, stop nickel and diming me for coverages I don't want or need. So to combat that, what we've done is we've said, here's a breakdown of the primary policy unendorsed, and here is the policy limits and coverages once you've endorsed it with that enhancement. Everything that you see here that says customizable is truly customizable. This is actually a good link to send to your insured if they want to compare the differences. So if I say, no, I do not want that enhancement endorsement, my insured is very price sensitive and frugal, I'm still giving you the ability to add equipment breakdown coverage. Your E&O carrier will thank you for adding that. And then down here at the very bottom, we ask you if you want to customize that package. We can customize the policy with or without you adding the enhancement endorsement. A great example of that I like to point out is backup of sewer and drains. It is not included in the base policy form, but we also don't make you endorse it with the enhancement just to have the coverage. And we let you choose your own limit on that. Backup of sewer and drains for a restaurant is a very important coverage. Again, your E&O carrier will thank you for making sure that they have adequate coverage here for that. And then we just, again, these are all the different coverages that you can either add or customize and enhance. So that's something that I think is very unique to us. I don't see that very often with any other markets. We'll do up to 1 mil in EPLI. We're just asking, do you know if there's a claim or anything that may give rise to claim? If yes, they're not eligible. If no, here are all your options for limits and deductibles. We will do up to 1 million in cyber. We won't ask you any questions up to 250,000. When you go in excess of 250,000, we're going to ask you, has there ever been a claim? And are they doing all the things that they're supposed to be doing to avoid some type of cyber attack? Those are going to be your standard questions that you typically get with a real cyber coverage anywhere. And this is a real cyber standalone coverage. It's not something that you typically find that is just an add-in in one of those policies. Blanket AIs and waivers are free. You should throw it on every single policy. That way you're not constantly having to do more work when you do need a certificate. If you need a scheduled form like a mortgage holder or lost PE or maybe like grantor, lessor, things like that, then you can hit yes here and it'll give you all those options and you'll just fill out the form. This is the other page that I am very proud of. We've given you discounts throughout this entire process, but that doesn't mean that there are not still discounts available. So statistics show that any operation that's a member of an industry association tends to turn in less claims. When that's the case, because that's the case, we'll give you a 5% discount on anything that is a member of a restaurant association. If they have a public profile like Google or Yelp, that's another 5% credit. Restaurants live and die off of Google and Yelp, so most of them should be eligible for this. If they're a part of a franchise, that's also a 5% credit. If you give them the 5% franchise, we're going to ask you what franchise. And if you make up a franchise, we're going to catch you. We're going to remove that credit, but it is there. So you can technically say that you have an exclusive program with discounted rates for somebody's franchise. I've used that in the past. It's quite productive. We still have IRPMs. That's that scheduled credit or debit that we can do to go over or under the base rates. We're giving you up to 20%. Each of these are 5% credit. So this is another option that you have to try and drive that premium down for a risk that you know is best in class. If you think that we're not getting to the premium that we need to get to, and you'd like to ask for more credit, then you can select yes here. It will generate a decline, or not a decline, it'll generate a referral, but just go ahead in this box, tell them what your ballpark premium is, expired pricing, whatever you have, give them insight into the premium that you're looking for, and any details you can provide that indicates that this risk is best in class. They will quickly get that turned around for you, and they'll try to do it as close to that premium as possible. I've seen cases where it's been referred for pricing and it was actually rated under what that preferred or selected price was. So you might want to get all the way through the process first, get that premium, and then if it's in a good place, don't refer it for pricing. But if you still want a little more credit, you can go back to that page and refer it over. You can quote and bind effective today. You cannot quote and bind effective yesterday. Rainbow is backed by human underwriters. We are not truly an insurtech company. We just have an electronic submission and quoting platform. We understand that there are many situations where we might have to backdate something or make an exception. And because of that, you can always refer and we can help you. If you need to backdate something, let's say the bind order came in at midnight on Friday and you will need to backdate it come Monday when you get in the office, just chat with our guys, let them know, and we'll go ahead and get that turned around for you. You shouldn't, it's like very few occasions or situations are we gonna say, I'm so sorry, the platform won't let us do that. We're trying to be as flexible as possible for you guys. We have all the same payment plans as everybody, 5% discount for pay in full. I would highly advise that you do not quote pay in full unless you know they're going to bind pay in full. It's happened a few times, and insureds have gotten kind of upset that when the policy was issued, it was issued at a higher premium. So be cognizant of that. The one thing that we do different with our payments is pay as you go. Pay as you go is basically a technology version of old school monthly reporting. So you would issue the policy with no down payment, and then they would send in a report at the end of the month. And based on their production or based on their sales, we will adjust their liability premium. Now their property premium is going to be flat every month, but the liability premium will kind of ebb and flow along with the business if they've signed up as pay as you go. There are a lot of point of sale systems like Toast, for instance, a very popular system for restaurants, that if they slap an email address in their point of sale system, it will automate a report. So in that case, it's absolutely an automated process, but we don't want to restrict an insured just because of their point of sale system. So if they're using, I don't know, QuickBooks and it can't automate a report like that, it's okay. We'll take manual reports each month. If they decide that they don't want to do it, I'm not going to threaten cancellation. Nobody's got time for that, and your policyholders don't appreciate it. So if it turns out they're just not going to turn in their report or it's too much of a hassle, we'll switch them over to pay monthly and we'll all move on with our happy lives. If I didn't do anything wrong, we should have a quote here. Aha! Two things I want to point out. One thing mostly, but this right here is the true annual premium, the 6.6K. We're saying that if you sign up for Rainbow Rewards, you can save 5%. Rainbow Rewards is when you upload 5 photos of binding. So we're saying 5 photos of binding will save you $353. And a lot of times it actually avoids that inspection as well. I didn't mention this. Pay as you go eliminates the final audit. Restaurants appreciate that because they hate inspections and they hate final audits. So that Rainbow Rewards and that pay as you go thing is it's a big selling point for our agents. So again, just know that if you're verbally indicating something to your insured, 6.6K is the actual premium unless you get those 5 photos, and then it's going to be 6.2K. You can hit this button right here and it will email your insured. It'll say, hey, we set up an account for you. You can log in to see your quote. It'll take them to the summary page. We will not let them change anything. They do not see any of these other tabs. And from that point, they can actually upload their own photos and bind their own policy on your behalf. Just an option for you. I'm going to download this quote really quick to show you what that looks like. And I also want to show you what it looks like when you bind and you do pay as you go. So once you hit purchase, it's going to send you between summary and payment. And this is what the Rainbow Rewards looks like. So 5 photos, and we're giving you examples of the photos. Not all restaurants are going to have hidden vents, right? If you have a bakery or a sandwich shop, they're not likely to have these. So you don't have to upload an image for that. Typically, I would suggest it's fun to mess with the underwriters, maybe send them a picture of Nick Cage just to get through. But you can upload whatever you need to here to bypass any type of error. But we do understand that not every restaurant is going to have hood and vents. So in the situation that these are irrelevant photos, then stick something in there or reach out to the underwriter and just say, hey, I'm binding this and we're going to upload a PDF or a picture or something like that. Here you can also send the quote to the insured so that they can actually go in and upload those photos and bind the policy themselves. This is what it looks like when you bind a pay-as-you-go policy. If it was any other plan, you would see the down payment here or the full premium on first payment. We are auto pay. We do not do snail mail. Everything is going to be auto draft, and it all requires a credit or debit card. We are actively working to provide an ACH option that is coming soon. So because we are auto pay, we do have to collect a small amount up front. That 50 cents will be removed from their first payment. Let me show you the quote. It's intentionally designed for you to co-brand if you'd like. And we are going to, you'll see right here that this is the full annual premium. We do not put the premium here that indicates the Rainbow Rewards discount because, again, we want to avoid any type of confusion. We try to be as transparent as possible. If there is an exposure or an available coverage, we say whether or not it's included and provide the limits. If it generates 1 red cent in premium, we provide that as a line item as well. When you do the enhancement, and let's say you added the enhancement, but then you also customized it, what'll happen is it'll go from included and it will show the premium that is associated with the limits that you have in excess of that base limit. So if you had 15,000 in debris removal, you'd see a premium here, and that premium would be for the additional 5,000 in coverage. This is something that I want to be very clear. We are cleaning it up and we'll kind of have it revised soon, but we want to make sure that you can indicate to your insured exactly how much money you saved them. Without Rainbow Rewards going through that process, we saved these guys $3,000. That looks really nice when you can highlight that. This is pure premium. We know that premium is commissionable. This is your pure premium. These fees are then added, and this is the total annual cost, estimated. I say estimated because these fees outlined here include not only the flat policy fee, but any potential installment fee or credit card processing fee. So we're trying to tell them, here is what you should expect your total annual expense for insurance to be, not just the premium. And then outside of that, it's a very comprehensive proposal. We have a complete form schedule, all of the disclosures that you could possibly need. We also give you a credit card authorization form. We're not asking for it. That's for you to use for your files if you would like. And we give you a completed application at the end. So everything that you did to get the quote, all of the answers are here. Very transparent. Again, you have the ability to have this signed to have on file if you'd like. We don't require it. And that's Rainbow. That's the platform and the quote and what to expect. Are there any questions? Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, you are welcome to reach out to me directly if there's ever anything that you need, or hit that green button and chat with those underwriters. You might even catch me on there from time to time. In the meantime, if you need an appointment, please feel free to reach out to me directly or hit that button on our website. And I'm here for you. Give me a shout.
Thanks, Brandi.